Absolutely. So could have told me I could have drank a little bit less, a little bit earlier. Just kidding.
Set you up for success.
Just kidding. No, but this is, again, as I mentioned this a little bit earlier today, what was so incredible really was what we experienced last night. And what we experienced last night was everybody coming back together. This is really a family. And to have this family back together again, face to face, given everything that we have been through, and to be able to share our success, especially to be able to share our success tonight. What was most amazing to me is the fact about how everybody is so enjoying each other's success tonight. And it's just, it's amazing. So one more round of applause for yourself. You've done amazing work, amazing job. Have an awesome night.
Oh man, I think got its money's worth. So now we get into the real fun. So I'd ask everybody, unbutton your sleeves here, roll them up. We're going to talk about Steve Daknis for a little bit. So, who? Steve Daknis. We're talking Daknis? Daknis? We're talking Daknis? So, that being said, for those who are unaware, Mr. Visconti is going to handle the heavy lifting here. Mr. Daknis is considered Steve, if you will. Steve will be retiring from the company, and I'll call it spring of next year after 47 years of service. So we were going to do a little like Family Feud style game about Steve Daknis, and then we asked 100 people what Steve Daknis pioneered, and all 100 said Social Security seminars. They were like, all right, that's boring, so we're not going to continue along with that. But hopefully we hear nothing nice about Steve from this point moving forward. Mike will be kicking things off, but specifically going back to the tenure of this team, we definitely would love to get a little bit of open mic here, keeping it, again, professional. And having some fun with it. So, Mr. Visconti.
All right. Should you unveil first?
Yeah, gotta make sure I don't screw this up.
Yes, let's hope not. So, Stevie, listen, pal. So, we all took a little bit of time under the cloak and dagger, and thank you, Kathy, for coordinating everybody. But we all, want to say, hey, listen, first and foremost, a big thank you and a big farewell to you. Hopefully you can take that, frame it, and enjoy it at your house. So let's talk a little bit about you for a few minutes. And I think that's probably going to be the nicest thing we're going to do for everybody. So, 4 years ago.
Just about.
The Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. And a young DJ named Stephen Albert Daknis. For those of you young kids, a DJ is somebody who's was driving home. What's a record? Most DJs was driving home from a late night working at Studio 54. He wasn't working at Studio 54. It was some nightclub in downtown Philly and God knows what else. Anyhow, and in fact, this is actually true. He was driving home and he was passing the Fort Wash building.
You remember this?
Of course I do.
Holy shit.
So, he's passing the Fort Wash building and he said, hey, self, one day, and he's told me actually, this is before drinking and driving was a really bad thing. So, I said, self, I'm going to work at that place one day. Well, luck would have it, he would not only hang up those bell bottoms that he was wearing, but he was going to join this organization. So, as you take a look, right, starting way back when, it wasn't until 2011 that Steve actually, the best thing in the world happened to him. I became his coworker. And together, he and I had a luxury of sharing the most demanding and high, there's so many words I want to say, the state of New York. And we had to work on that together, working with Allstate. And that's when Steve and I started to work together very, very closely. So, throughout the years, what I'll tell you is this, is that he and I have had a lot to do together in terms of dealing with RFSLs in upstate New York for Allstate. A couple of them in particular, which I can tell you was always a ping pong battle, and then a very challenging MD who looked at us like piggy banks.
Yep.
Gary, you know what I'm talking about. Yep. And so from that, I'll tell you what, I learned a lot from Steve, right? I learned a lot. I learned that you can take a 5-minute Social Security presentation and turn it into 25 minutes. And have the entire room time you. And not realize it. Every year since 2011. And then incorporating the sales ideas. Those kids these days. Heard that a lot. And now, tomorrow, I can't wait for our breakout session to hear the tagline, "Keep off my lawn." So, Steve would be the first I would call, quite frankly, when things would go awry. So when things went bad, the first person I would call was Steve. And he would always be the one who said, "Mike, it's gonna be fine." I said, "How do you know that?" He's like, "Oh, trust me, I've gone through this 1,000 times." I said, "Well, you have been working here quite a long time." So with that, he would always give me guidance. He'd give me an idea, but most importantly, he'd always be the one to let me know that it would always be okay. So I always said, you know what, as long as Steve's in the corner, and he's the kind of the guy that I can say, "Hey, you know what, ask Steve, and he's gonna tell me it's all right," then I'm gonna believe it's okay. So, I'll tell you this, we are gonna have ups and downs, right? And it's important to make sure that we're grounded to the people around us that can give us guidance and to really, quite frankly, give us a little bit of hope, right, for the next day. So with that, what I will say is this, though, is that, Steve, that was you. That is you, right? So, folks.
Wow.
Oh, wait, hold on. So, we do have a present, and this isn't the first time, or the last time you're going to see that. In fact, actually, I made it on.
47.
Man, listen.
Oh my God.
I just want to say, Steve, it's been a wonderful time. Oh, by the way, hold on. That, folks, was when a young Steve Daknis, he actually sent me that. He was a sanitation worker in that picture.
Trash man.
To his spinning the old records, the 45s, and then working at a crew. And he sends me this on right before Thanksgiving, and it has his social security number on it. I go to print this, and my wife goes, "You know, social security number's on that t-shirt." I go, "Oh my God." So, Steve, you got the picture. So, nevertheless, Steve, listen, from the bottom of my heart, the fact of the matter is 47 years is a long time. Billions and billions of dollars that you've sold, we want to say thank you for that. But here's the coup de grace for me, folks. Now, I don't want to steal Don's comments that he's going to give me tomorrow. Out of those 47 years, 40 of them, ladies and gentlemen, he has been at a Prudential conference. He has been at Prudential conference almost as many birthdays as I have had. That is insane, my man. But listen, Steve, to you, you're going to be missed. I know you're not gone just yet. And hopefully Brett and I can finagle you to come back in a different capacity. But you will be missed. You'll be missed by this team. I will miss the 5-minute, 35-minute sales ideas. I will miss all of the telling me about the kids and everything else that I fall into, so cut out some of the insults. But nevertheless, buddy, you give me a ton of knowledge. You give this team a ton of knowledge. And the beacon that you provided to all of us will be missed. So Steve, cheers to you, my man.
Cheers. Thank you.
Steve, obviously, we're going to give you the opportunity here. I know it's close to your bedtime, probably. So.
It's actually past
That being said, right? I'm going to defer to you first. Would you like to come up and dress the room, or do you want to hear a couple funny stories first, and we'll bring you up?
Yeah, let's hear the funny stories.
Let's hear funny stories.
That way I'll know who to get
I
to
don't
eat.
know if Steve was there, but ladies, drink that in, huh? Let's talk about that for a second, man.
what
That's
happened.
what Philadelphia looked like in the 70s, man. Philly, I know, is way different these days.
So folks, hold on.
You guys, you gotta let Kenny see that.
We'll send it to him via Teams.
Yeah.
So, there was this picture.
Wait for it.
Wait for it. Let's see if this thing works. So there was this picture. And there was this picture.
Describe it.
Oh, no, I can't. Let's see if this one works. And if it doesn't, we'll move on.
Anthony had on like it, didn't you? Yes.
Yeah, well, anyhow, it
So
wouldn't
much
be
for
a conference if we
technology.
didn't have AV problems. The other picture I was gonna show you was Palma in a turkey suit. And I gotta tell you, it's true. And he was all proud of it, and he showed us that. And I said, it was either that picture I was gonna put on your t-shirt, Steve, or Anthony's picture, so you could always see Anthony every day in a turkey suit. Oh, here it is, hold on, wait for it. And there it is. Followed by, hold on, one last one, that one. That is the picture that shows up on my car when Anthony calls. There you go.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
So the turkey suit was actually, that's a long story, forget about Steve. So that being said, I'll definitely kick off first. It was funny when I had, Don gave me the opportunity here to step into a leadership role. One of the first things I did, of course, was talk to the beloved Renee Vinci. And I was like, hey, what advice do I need? And that was a stupid question for anybody who's Renee. 3.5 days later, I was disheveled, I didn't shower. But that being said, one of the first thing she said is, you got to realize the team you're stepping into. And specifically, she again mentioned two people, Mark Martin and Steve Daknis, and said, one, what resources they wear, and she was like, two, they've seen everything professionally. So whenever you have something that concerns you, whenever you have something that's been there, you got to check first with them. So one of the first things I did, gas prices, I said, Steve, what was the gas ration like? Like what happened back in your oil embargo? How did you know that, right? But, in all honesty, it was funny. I would call Steve, and the first thing that would happen is he'd be like, hey man, what's going on? Just want to give you a couple updates. And 3 to 5 minutes later, he'd be like, Anthony, let me tell you what's going to happen here. And that's how our conversations went. But that being said, Steve, I can't tell you enough about the impact it had on me. I sincerely appreciated the time we had. And unfortunately for you, being so close to where I spend my weekends occasionally.
Which is a good thing.
Exactly. I know that we'll definitely be keeping in touch there. But so happy to be celebrating you tonight. Super bittersweet to be losing such a resource. And most importantly, a friend within the channel. So I'll pause there, and let's get a little open mic for a couple minutes. So we'll do a little volunteers if anybody wants to come up and have a little fun. Or actually, remain seated. I'll walk it over to you.
So I'll just say a couple comments, show you how much the business and everything has changed. So Mark Martin and I got hired as a junior wholesaler covering upstate New York. Mark's the senior wholesaler covering upstate New York. Most of you probably even know Mark was up there at some point. So we go out, there's a seminar booked that night, and the guy that hired me was Les Anderson. Some of you may know Les, some of you don't. If you don't know him, Google him, one of the most dynamic speakers you'll ever see. Published a book, You Are the Product, just simply fantastic at like a client presentation. So Les shows up at the seminar with his overhead projector, dry erase markers, because you don't want any compliance trail at all anything he was doing. Steve is a sales manager in the Albany office at the time. It was the first time I met him. And so my job as a junior was covering upstate New York and that. And Les gives this presentation, gets done, and Mark and I are talking, and Les is talking to Steve for a little while. And they're going back and forth. And he gets done, he goes, all right, so I hired Daknis, he's the upstate guy. You're going to shift to New England, Woodward. And I was like, that's how fast it all happened there. But, with that, Steve, you and I have been in touch for a lot of years, a lot of time. Appreciate the partnership and friendship and advice, and nothing but the best going forward.
Thanks, Steve.
So.
Oh, God, Seuss.
For those that didn't hear, it was, oh God, Seuss.
Oh, God, Seuss, yeah. So, I'm doing a Social Security seminar, and I had this idea to use PDI as a bridge for Social Security. So Steve calls me one day, and he's like, you got any good ideas? So I share him this idea, and he knows this is true. He ran with this thing. And he must have led the channel with PDI sales. He must have done it.
75 of that.
75 million.
300
right?
million the first year, 75
Yeah,
was mine.
yeah. But even better, we're doing the seminar, and one of the clients had a question, so we had to call the 800 number for Social Security, and Steve answered. You don't get that, do you? Okay, the Social Security number is 0002. That's his Social Security number, okay? The reason he knows so much about Social Security is because he was around before Social Security was invented, right?
Not far off.
No, you're not far off. Listen, you've been a great friend, a great mentor to all of us, and I'm going to miss you dearly.
Thanks, Steve.
Love you. I'm waiting for my bonus too, by the way.
Somehow my name keeps bubbling up. I'm not sure. I guess after 41 years, you know. So when I got promoted to a wholesaler, originally I was told I was going to have the Northeast. I was going to be managing I think mutual funds at the time. So I moved to Connecticut because I thought that's the place I'm going to be. And then within a month of buying a home, $400,000, I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. All of a sudden, I was going to become the annuity wholesaler over in upstate New York. So one of the first people that I meet is Steve Daknis. And of course, obviously, with Steve's background and my background, because I started off as an advisor, I was a sales manager, managing director, and I think Steve and I had very
Similar backgrounds.
Similar backgrounds. So we developed a real good friendship. What I didn't realize was how much of a suck up that Steve was. Okay? So here I am. I'm running around with Les Anderson. We're going up and down. Of course, our favorite place was Turning Stone.
That's right.
Right? At the casino. And with Les Anderson, you have to know him. You have to have ice cream. And he'll fall asleep as I'm driving, he's falling asleep. I think he's dead, right? So here we are. We're putting on all these different seminar events, and because I came from Florida, because that's all I really knew was putting on seminars. So I came up to upstate New York, and they're like, "What's a seminar?" I'm like, "Oh, I know it works." So we started doing seminars. Steve got on board. You know, his team was putting on seminars, and then here I am. I'm traveling, and Les calls me out of the blue. He goes, "Hey, I have your new DSM." So what do you mean my new DSM? It's Gary. Gary's mine. Oh, no. I got you a new one. Really? Who? It's Steve Daknis. I said, what? What do you mean, Steve Daknis? Yeah. Oh, by the way, Steve's with me. Oh, hey, Steve. You know, I'm like, how did all this happen? Right? Next thing I know, right, Steve is on the team, which was phenomenal. Then all of a sudden, Les decides to go back down south. Now he's going to become the, divisional down south. And Florida opened up, so I had an opportunity to come down to Florida. So Les says to me, well, who should take upstate New York? I'm like, well, you might as well give it to Daknis. He's right there. I mean, you already moved Gary out of the way. You know, him over to, so with all that said, I mean, Steve and I go way back. I mean, between Steve and I mean, between all the Social Security, I think we've helped each other. We've become masters of, and again, it just, you may think we did it because we wanted to help our clients. No, we're doing it for ourselves.
Self-centered.
We were it was all self-centered, okay? We were all doing it to maximize, and unfortunately, Social Security keeps changing the rules, right?
I know.
Right, all the plans we had in place, but Steve, you've been a great friend, a great partner, and we're definitely going to miss you. But I do know that we'll definitely stay in touch. So appreciate everything you've done.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
for those that don't know, as they walk over to Cook's, and if you look at the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest one-on-one meeting between wholesaler and financial advisor, it's actually Daknis and Mark Martin. It's in 3 days, 7 hours, and 48 minutes. So you can only imagine what was accomplished in that wholesaler advisor alignment.
Hey, it's about relationships.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
So Steve, I've got to redeem myself. I've been accused of not giving any compliments, so I'm redeeming myself now. So when I first started wholesaling, my territory at that point covered CMDA. They wanted to be like Steve Daknis' firm that he covered in NCNY, upstate. And they're like, hey, you got to learn how to do seminars, which, by the way, I did not really enjoy doing. But so Steve, you paved the way for that. So I'm grateful for you. And now I realize I don't want to do as many as I used to do. One of the things is, I've always looked up to you as far as when I look at kind of pay yourself first. You paved the way for many of us to, again, to make a great career with a great company and a reason why we stay here. So thank you for that. I will miss, though, that meeting for you for breakfast early before the breakfast buffet opens, helping them cook it with it so everybody's well fed with it. But again, I'm really going to miss you being around and the leadership that you've provided to us and the experience that you've given us. So thanks and cheers.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, one, Linda Decker. Right now to steal from the Daknis Love Fest, Don Malavia, everybody. Don, would you like to add anything tonight, or save your comments for Wednesday?
For a very special presentation from the main stage in the morning.
You got it. So, I'd ask everybody to stand up. 47 years is something that deserves a stand ovation. Mr. Daknis, come on up, sir.
It fits.
Yeah. What do you say about a career that you love?
Hey, Steve, I'll time it.
I'll
It's
time
been
it.
my problem. I'll try to keep this short. About 3 weeks ago, Anthony called me up, and he was down. He was down in Dover on active duty, doing what he does best, serving our country and protecting us all. And I got a picture of this dude in his uniform, and I walked in because he said, "Hey, man, I missed your birthday by just a little bit. I'm gonna give you a belated birthday." It was my 70th birthday, so I was like, "Wow, how nice." Because he promised me for 2 years that he wanted to take me out down there. He never showed up. But, for that, it was really special. And I walked in and I see this guy in his fatigues or whatever the hell they are. I'm like, whoa, our country's in great shape. Mikey, I can't believe that he remembered that damn story about me on the Pennsylvania Turnpike after a DJ event in Northeast area of Philadelphia, because I got lost because I had a little too much to drink. And I'm on the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
It was okay back then.
It was legal. It was all legal.
That's hard. That was an 11,000-pound four-door sedan. It sounds very good.
Between exit 26 and 27, and all the corporate offices between Fort Washington and King of Prussia were there. And as a kid growing up, I knew that I needed to get a job in one of those places. And I remember Prudential's, in particular, the great sign that they had. And I'm really sad that I heard that they just sold that building, and it's going to be gone soon. But I used to look at that building with its blue rock symbol there, and I used to say to myself, I gotta get into a place like that. And I'm like 19, 20, 21 years old. Sure enough, at 23, I got there. And it has been an incredible journey. We have probably the premier company in the entire financial industry. Now, are we all gonna be happy about all the rates we have at certain times, whatever? All I can tell you is this. I have never been sad one day in my life. For my first 25 years doing insurance,
which is the perfect gift for what we do, because as I learned the estates and trusts, got my CLU, CHFC, and all that stuff to really do high-end insurance, I realized that insurance is the gift that guarantees that the legacy stays in place. The annuity is the gift that pays forever for that legacy. And it's a beautiful combination. If you're not dealing with life insurance people in your firms, you are making a huge mistake. This is it. I don't know what else to say. I love you guys. I've been challenged by all of you, which drove me to get better all the time. I've had amazing management. Don and I were managing directors at the same time in Prudential. I didn't know him at the time I saw his name, but Mark, Brad, Don, we all share that background. It's just been an incredible journey. I can't believe that almost a half century's gone by. Shanice called me a slacker last night. She said, "You couldn't make 50?" and yeah, I know. Shanice was actually my internal at one time, and we had a really fun, it was a really fun time. She's a great person. Everybody here has really made me a better person, and I thank all of you for it. Thank you so much.